How's it going, YouTube? Coming to today with another video, and today, guys, the video is going to be the meta tier list for the new format leading up to Nationals, which is next weekend. This is going to be really exciting because there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of different variants to go over, starting with Azamina Light and Darkness. Now, this deck is very strong. This is going to be 1.5, though, probably more toward the top of 1.5. I think that it's going to be really good. My personal favorite of this so far, but it's still top of 1.5, is going to be the Mitsurugi variant. I think that these two just mesh way too good. They are very strong. I think that they're going to be very, very good into the format. Both of them have a lot of ups. But honestly, if we're looking for like tier 1, like the best of the best right now, it's either going to be playing like more pure with just Welbaz, and then going for like the Sword Soul line to be able to get to your Skull Archfiend is really cool. You can play a lot of non-engine. I think that this is really good, or just like the branded variant in general, I think is going to be really powerful. I think both of these have a lot to say into the format because they can do a lot. They have a lot of room for a lot of different things that you could play. And honestly, it's just so versatile into the format and very explosive. I think that these two in general are going to be like your be-all, end-all best picks right now. But there's also going to be like pure branded and then Dragonshield branded, which I do think are also going to be like some of the best options in the room. I think that like if you're going to be playing like Mitsurugi or like any Azamina variant, they should be the Light and Darkness variant, but I don't think that playing Mitsurugi or Azamina is better than just playing like the Light and Darkness cards by themselves with like a bunch of non-engine and then like the Welbaz package, or even like a branded variant, let alone like a Light and Darkness variant. They're all very good from testing just 100% of the time. The amount of gas that these decks can produce are kind of crazy and a little scary if you're not ready for it. So these are my top picks right now so far. My next one here is going to be Ryziel Blitzclick, and this is also somewhere up here with these variants as well, just because this deck is also really good and really underrated. If you go to Nationals and you don't know what this deck does, you are going to lose. It is a very good deck. It can do quite a lot, can put up quite a lot of interruption. You should really understand what the Blitzclick cards do. Now, for the next one here is going to be more like tier 2. Radiant Typhoon, even with one chant, has done fantastic things lately. So this is something where I think the deck has to be in the right hands. I think that the pilot has to be very good, but the deck itself can produce. So that's something where I would put it in the top of tier 2, or like close to that. So that's something that you should really keep in mind. Another thing that's going to be like top of tier 2 is going to be like the Mitsurugi Yummy Fiendsmith pile. It's like 60 cards. I think that it's like kind of cope, but it's also doing like pretty good. I would only put that in like tier 2. There's just a lot more insane decks to be playing right now, to be honest. I.e., just playing with the Light and Darkness cards and like the branded Light and Darkness. Now, again, like I said in the last video, don't tunnel vision on just these decks. I think that that's going to be very, very bad to do because there's still going to be decks in the room like just branded even without these cards. And playing even like the Dragonshield branded or KT, right? Like these are going to be decks that are still very competent in the room and very, very good. So yes, Light and Darkness is going to be a crazy swing for the format, but that does not mean that we disregard everything else that's in the room. Another strategy here that's going to be more like tier 2 is going to be the Teller Knight build that's also like the FDK. And another FDK that's just going to be like Rogue is going to be trains. Like you'll see this, like Christian trains or just trains, where they are just going for the FDK as well. I think that the Teller Knight deck does it a little better, so it'd be more in tier 2 because it can also play without the FDK. But this is definitely going to be something that you want to make sure that you're aware of and how to beat it. Same with the train deck. But these are FTKs that are just in the room. You got to be aware of them. Now, Shaddoll, or even like the Light and Darkness Shaddoll, this is also going to be like top of Rogue. I just don't think that we'll see it. It might be in the room, but I don't really think that it's going to be like super popular, if that, just because there's a bunch of other variants, including like Mitsurugi, that a lot of people are just going to lean toward mostly. Art Mage, this is going to be like, again, top of tier 2. I know it's had like a couple results, but like not necessarily my favorite thing in the room right now. I think that it's pretty good. It's pretty okay, but it's definitely not going to be like one of my favorites. Bottom of tier 2, Vanquish Soul. I think this deck can definitely still compete. I think that it's still very competent. It still does pretty well. And that's something that you really want to keep in mind, because at the end of the day, this is a deck that you can still bring to an event and do pretty okay. You have a lot of non-engine. Holly Suit is still in the deck, right? You still have a lot of very good avenues to be able to extend. So this is still a deck that if I saw it, I wouldn't be surprised. Now, as for a deck that's kind of just fell from the graces, where this deck really was a crazy meta threat being Lunalite, this is like borderline rogue bottom of tier 2. And it's kind of crazy because it really was not down here. But now it's kind of just like pretty forgotten about. And it might just be because a lot of people drop the deck, where it's just like not really popular anymore. But definitely something that you want to keep in mind, because it's just not really around as much anymore. But if you do see it, you still have to out the Liger. Now, for the next one here is going to be D2D. This is just going to be like top of Rogue. It's doing really well right now for the most part. Like, it just did well at like a national championship, and it's done well at like a couple regionals too. So it's something that, again, is just very heavy on if the pilot is good with the deck, right? So something to just keep in mind, but not necessarily like the craziest deck, but still a good deck. Another one being Doomsday, still a very fire deck. This is going to be something that you want to keep in mind. Again, Colossus and multiple negates on the board is still pretty hard to deal with, so definitely going to be a pretty solid deck moving forward. Top of tier 2, Craft. I hate this deck, but it's still in the format, so top of tier 2, still a pretty okay deck at what it does, but something that will be in the room. Now, for Elf Note, bottom 1.5, we're seeing a lot of like the chess deck Elf Note, right? Then you're seeing like regular Elf Note with June Pride with turn 0 plays. So the deck is still pretty good at what it can do, and something that you got to make sure that you're like studied up on and that you know what this deck does. Now, as for the Sacred Beast deck, I've been getting a lot of questions about this. I would say it's like top of tier 2. I think that it does pretty well into the format, and that a lot of people are going to go into this event not knowing what this deck does, which is definitely a mistake. You should know what this deck does. You need to know what this deck does. But do I think that it's like be all end all better than things above it? Probably not. But that is something that it is a very good deck, but I don't really think that it's like an amazing deck. Now, for Striker, this is still bottom 1.5. I'd say it's above Elf Note at least. The deck is still very good in the format. You have a lot of cards right now, including the Light and Darkness cards, where they can be targeted, but they're unaffected by like blanket effects, right? So Striker really does pair up well into Light and Darkness, and it already had a really good time last format, and I think it has a better time this format. So pretty excited about that, and it's still going to be a pretty good deck to play. The Power Patron, FTK, and also just like the Sloth deck, right? I think that this is still going to be really good. I think that it's going to be, again, like bottom 1.5. Now, if you're surprised by how many decks are on here right now, just know it's a very wide format. Like, that's just where we're at right now. The format is very, very wide. That's very commonly known, very widely known, that there's going to be a lot in the room. So you kind of have to make sure that everything is really good to go when it comes to Nats. I've been extremely honed in into deck building for Nats lately and making sure that I'm good to go, because there's going to be a lot in the room. So just make sure that you take an extra second and read up on some of these decks that you may not even find to be very real, but they're around. They're around. Now for Magnet Warrior, I kind of want to put it in don't. It's probably just Rogue. I think this deck was like really cool for like a couple weeks, and then it just like kind of fell off. There's just like better decks to play, right? So I mean, like I would even play like Train or D2D, right, over Magnet Warrior. So it kind of fell from the graces as well. But I mean, it still is a competent game plan. It's still something that can like do pretty okay, but it's just definitely not my favorite choice right now. The next one here is going to be the Invoke deck. I think that it's going to be very good. You can rip 3 cards out of your opponent's extra deck. You can put up negates. You have interruptions. You can use Super Poly very well. The deck has a very high ceiling. I think that this deck is going to be very, very good for Nationals. So that's something where it's going to be like less good than others in the top tiers, but it's still going to be something that you want to watch out for. Same with Fairy Tale. And then there's also like Invoked Fairy Tale. So you want to make sure that you understand what both of these do. A lot of times people just don't understand still that if you have a hand trap, just hit Wiccat, like, please, you know? Like, I've been seeing so many people play against this deck, and they just don't hit Wiccat. And I'm like, hit Wiccat. Like, I promise you. Like, it's so good. But it's just so silly sometimes. I'm just like, watch the where to hand traps, please. But even just me playing the deck for a while, like, people would be like, yeah, Wiccat's cool. And I'm like, oh my god, there's no way. Like, I would have lost, you know? But the Wiccat resolves, so here we go. But Fairy Tale is a very good deck as long as people still don't understand that Ashing or Veiling or Imperming Wicket is a very good play. But that's just still something that keeps happening, which is pretty crazy. Malice is up here as well, of course, because Malice is still a deck. I know a lot of people will hate this, but it's still a deck. And then any chess deck variants are going to be tier 2 for me. I really don't love these cards too much at the moment, especially if your opponent's hip and they know that they're playing against this and they put in Sloth because you are able to use Sloth in your turn 1 because your opponent can play on your turn with the chess deck cards. So definitely very interesting with how these cards playstyle are. I do like them with like the Elf Note cards, but I think in general, these still need more support to come out to be like really broken. I think that you might play against like 0 to 0.5 of this deck at the event. I don't really think that it's going to be like super popular, but there's just going to be like way too many decks in the room to really be able to tell, right? Because it's going to be a super wide format. But let me know what you think down below in the comment section and what you're prepared for and what you think is going to be the best deck in the room, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you.